The Great House Hlaalu is hiring for a variety of positions. Do you have a trade? Do you have or desire caravan experience? Are you a soldier in seek of higher pay? The Great House Hlaalu wants you. This is Scrollplay, the Elder Scrolls Online roleplay show. I'm your host, Floyd, the human. Today, find out how you can become a part of a simulated pirate town. I'll announce the winner of the 30-day time card. We'll do the last batch of community features. After that, we'll have the featured character from the Aldmeri Dominion. And then we will finish up with the character exercise. The Twin Tails Company and my guild, Banescale Fellowship, will be working together to simulate a pirate town in-game for 2 days, and we want to invite you. Alton Cormont is a wretched hive of scum and villainy in Shadowfen. It's also suspected to be the hiding place of a cult the Banescale Fellowship has been hunting for months. Here's what's going on. Alton Cormont is a festering pit of piracy and crime on the best of days. But now, some say, it has become truly cursed. Sailors whisper of a ghost ship which has come to port. While others claim it is a fanciful lie, no one can deny the signs that something is amiss. A local girl has been murdered, other people have simply vanished. Several outbursts of violence have been put down by the local pirate lord's enforcers, and an entire shipment of food rotted the second it touched the port's dock. The shanty town has been unsettled since One Eye, the port's previous owner, was kicked out by a new pirate, Bloodybeard. While this Nord's generosity towards the locals and nearby Argonian villages hasn't gone unnoticed, neither have his darker dealings. Recently he has been struggling to remain in control, even as the local Fighters Guild attempts to destabilize his power. Captains of ships which pass through often are asked to pick sides. Even as this power struggle continues, a greater threat looms over the ignorant port town. The Curse of Alton Cormont, a 2-day roleplay event on the Ebonheart Pact NA Mega server. Players from all factions and both Mega servers are more than welcome to attend. We need people to roll new characters to fill some of these roles, such as dock workers, merchants, loyalists to the pirate lord, fighters guild members, and harlots who know too much. Those damn wenches. There's a complete list of the roles we're looking for on the forum thread linked in the description. Once you pick a role, you will be given bits of information, pieces to the puzzle. But for the most part, the character you create is up to you. Feel free to roll any race. This town is supposed to be a melting pot. However, if you want a little direction with the character to get you started, we have a few templates ready, so feel free to ask. If you want to participate, please let us know soon. The event is on December 5th and 6th, and we want to be well prepared before then. Check out the link in the description for more info. 3 of my milestone goals have already been met thanks to my first 4 patrons. That means you guys get the first 2 episodes of my new series, Let's Roleplay, and I will be buying a new microphone soon. If you want to contribute and get rewards, go to patreon.com/thehumanfloyd. And the winner of the 30-day time card is Hedgie. Thank you so much, Hedgie, and everybody else, keep your eyes peeled for more giveaways in the near future. So these are the last of the community feature interviews for now, but there will be another community feature somewhere down the road. Our first interview is with Leo and Feynn, and if they had a baby, it would be an elf named Leo Feynn. Click here to listen to the extended interview. I hope you got your practicing in front of the mirror out of the way, Feynn.
Yeah.
All right, welcome to the show, Feynn and Leo.
Hey, how's it going? All right.
And so you guys are players on the EU Daggerfall Covenant, right?
That's right. Yeah. Sorry, I'm Feynn. I'm just gonna cut in here on you and just. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. Yeah, we are. Feynn, speak.
What? Right. Is my mic all right, by the way? Yes?
Yeah, your mic's fine. You're good.
Excellent.
You're good.
So you guys are involved in Stormhaven RP, which is the OOC community guild over there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, it's been around since the beginning. Actually, we had somebody who put it together. I say Finny. Is that correct, Feynn?
I call her Finny as well, just because you call her that.
Basically, Finny decided to put together this community because what we found is struggles with phasing and different things like that. And she put together this community, and we've been really going great since. It's been wicked. It's been really good.
I think it's very much like an umbrella guild, basically.
Mm.
It's like this organization that basically sort of collects other smaller organizations within itself, which I think is very nice.
Guilds and different bits.
Like have a Fighters Guild, a Mages Guild,
yes.
Battle Watch, everything else. Yeah.
The Fighters Guild's brilliant, by the way. There's some amazing person that runs it, and I don't know who that is, but, you know...
I'm just going to say the Mages Guild is so much better, but anyway.
Okay, anyway, yeah. So we both do the Fighters Guild, Mages Guild between us, and we're a little bit biased, but...
I've stalked the rumor mill thread on the Stormhaven RP website a little bit, and I think that's really cool that you guys have like an established Fighters Guild and Mages Guild. Like, it seems like a lot of roleplay spawns off of that.
To be honest, Feynn, you should tell them why like the Mages Guild came together and why it was done, because we got some really intellectual minds. We have a necromancer as well. No, we have a necromancer. You need to know this. We have a necromancer. We have our own EU necromancer. So I can't actually tell you him who he is or her because he'll probably kill me and then raise me again. So but anyway, we have a
Definitely, he or she would.
Hey, the Mages Guild. Let them know. Let the people know.
Yeah, but exactly. I mean, the Mages Guild was born basically out of the desire to play something that was, I think, more lore-rich in a sense. So some of our activities, for example, we have a weekly lecture series in which we discuss not only magic but also the topics. Like we had it was a lecture on the history and culture of the Bosmers, for example.
Wicked. That was pretty good.
Yeah, that was really good too. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Which ended with a very nice Bosmeri joke.
Yeah, and the Fighters Guild came about really... Well, originally I had this guild concept called the Datora Company, which was this mercenary guild, and I am running another one at the moment that Feynn knows absolutely nothing about, which is called the Magnus Arcanum, and basically it's a magical guild that sort of, it's like, like SWAT teams and different people that go behind the lines to, no, that's not really a SWAT team. I'm thinking of the Halo Reach team now where they go behind the line and do that. Basically we decided to come up with this group.
ODST guild.
Yeah, ODST kind of mages that go in there and they find all the necromancers and they kind of pull them out and deal with them before they become the light of the common gossip, you know? So I'm doing that at the moment alongside to fight this necromancer thing we've got going on. It's all very, under the surface. I decided that I had this character called Orox, and I was like, we need a Fighters Guild. We need something where... Because we had a lot of people, didn't we, Feynn, that were saying, Mage Guild, it sounds really a bit heavy for me. I might not really, be into it. I just want to whack something with a stick. And we were like, we can do that. Feynn, talk Salaga. Tell everyone about Salaga. I assume that's what we should be doing. We should talk about your character.
Yeah, well, my character is basically his role in the Mages Guild, mostly. And... he's the Perquisitor of the Wares Mages Guild. So Perquisitor would be the Master of Apprentices, or like sort of the guy in charge of academic issues in the guild. And here we're different compared to the Fighters Guild. We have a different approach. We've been discussing this for a bit, whether we should simply have our characters just be mages in the Mages Guild and just have all the leadership just be NPCs. as they're doing in the Fighters Guild, or not. I think there's a bit of a trade-off. If you want to be strictly lore appropriate, then yes, you probably should just be mages and let the leadership be NPCs. But at the same time, I think it's also nice to have real players playing the actual leaders of the Wayrest chapter.
But more about, like, I think the synergy between all the members of the Mages Guild there, that, you know, you can sort of look into the different characters there and the different things that can happen. You've got, like, a portal master there, and you have, I think, Antioch, who runs around being all sort of old and Saruman-like, you know. You can imagine he's quite this looming presence. And,
Saruman is a very good analogy there, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's our Saruman. Anyway, let me shall I go over Ororon quickly? Just explain him, maybe? Should I just give a flavor?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so Ororon is an interesting character because I basically came up with him to the concept that he just wants to hide a lot of what's happened in the past. So he comes into this Wayrest town, and I think every good story, so my media teacher used to tell me, is somebody comes to town. That's how all the good stories in life start. So I took this analogy, and I was working with a very good friend of mine at the time, Tamarips, who plays a character called Ashlon, and basically came up with this dual idea of there's some sort of ethereal connection between the two of them. There's something between this woman who walks around in red and black and has funny necklaces full of magic, and then this man who's sort of this huge hulking, like, he must eat kilos and kilos of food every day, and he's incredibly defined and stood and tall, and you know, and he goes around really a little bit of ego, and he's incredibly well, he has a mind on him for good-looking things. Let's just say that as yeah. And so he goes in and he sort of announced himself in town. And at the beginning, he was sort of going around trying to assess everything. And he just walked into various criminal situations, and he didn't realize he's getting mixed up in things. And one day he's in the stocks, which was very entertaining through. A play on his naivety, I believe. But after going to the stocks and leaving various guard guilds and whatever, just because he's not the most, he's a smart man, but it's typical warrior thinking of act now, think later. And he found himself now sort of the protector of the Fighters Guild. And the law behind how we're doing this, and I'm really glad the guys came together and helped me work it out, which is basically, at the moment, the guild champion, the person that would be looking after the Wayrest Guild Hall, is out and about, and he's defeating Daedra, and everyone else from that rank above or around, or the warders and the guardians, they're all out doing their thing, and no one's at the Wayrest Fighters Guild, so we need to have someone there. And we were going with this idea that Ororon's basically really annoyed quite a few people, because he does that. That's just what happens. And he's now looking after, given responsibility. When you give a child responsibility because it suddenly makes them, better, apparently. Well, they've given Ororon responsibility to look after some people and get a reactive unit of fighters going. So, yeah, he's sort of finding his feet now and finding out that the people around him seem to have quite the persistence for their persecutions. And he's good, though. He bounces back. Goes and lifts some weights and comes back on a new form. So it's been good. Yeah, we've really enjoyed it.
I think it's an evolving character. I like it.
Yeah, there's some directions to go with that one, I have to tell you. Yeah.
So, what can you tell me about what he's been up to lately, Leo?
Ororon. Well, lately he's had a little fallout with the Mages Guild. We had this great synergy where we put together the Mages Guild, had some really, really talented members obviously come over, and there was 3 of them, and some fantastic role players. They came over and they were sort of interacting and teaching these, I'm going to say numbskulls, but they're not really. They're very, very, very wise fighters. But teaching a few things about sort of magics and how to defend yourself or how to heal yourself, just the basic principles. And sadly, a noble of the city and seems to have quite the agenda and is quite persistent for Ororon's neck, and they have fallen out, and there were some very sad words said, and he's had to terminate this contract between the guilds, which has caused an awful amount of strife and an absolutely amazing bag of roleplay to come from it. So, I mean, Feynn is panicking and saying, what are we going to do? And I'm just saying, no, this is amazing. Just go with it. Just fly with it. Right?
I am panicking a bit, to be honest.
You know, you're on a really high ride and put your hands in the air and just let the whole thing go.
But at the same time, the Mages Guild and the Fighters Guild are also cooperating in very important projects.
They are in law, and that is very important, and that's something we've actually been working very hard on the whole time. You cannot have them fall out.
No, but not just that. We're also cooperating on something very specific, which is murder investigation.
We have a murder right now. How many people can say
serial killer?
A serial killing.
There have been 5 victims so far.
Yeah,
and it's amazing. Basically, we have this amazing role player in our community who signed up with an anonymous account on our forum. So he just called himself Incognito. And through this account, he contacted people, asking people to, if they have any characters that they don't want to play anymore, just please give them up so I can kill them.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, bring them forward.
Yeah, and so basically he created all these murder scenarios, like all these murder scenes with, lots of clues that you can find by interacting with him outside of the game. So you basically send him like a private message and you say, okay, so my character is going to look at these things and what could he find? And there are bodies currently in the temple and the priests of Arcade are running their autopsies. What would they find from the autopsy? All these sort of things. So it gives you clues, and then through these clues then you're supposed to basically figure out how carry on the investigation. It's really, really cool.
That's neat.
Yeah, we've had some great feedback from it, and we've actually had some more members. I think this is the key of what we're trying to do here. We've had people that have joined Stormhaven RP because of this one guy, and I know who it is because I had to, because
so do I now.
Like that. We're not going to mention names, but this person and the initiative was just so great. There was no pre-warning. It was just saying, look, this is coming. Some people have signed up for it, some people haven't. And it's literally brought so many faculties together and so many different guilds and so many different groups of people. And I think, Feynn, it's pretty safe to say we have directions to continue with more events like this, don't we?
Oh, definitely, definitely. I mean, actually, we have things lined up. We have things that are on hold because then other plot lines become more urgent. Like we have a plot line going on now with a Dwemer book that has been found during a book hunting expedition, which I'm not going to say much, but the content of this Dwemer book is pretty scary, and the Mages Guild is just basically trying to figure out what to do with it. But at the same time, then this murder thing comes along, and then basically that has to take the backseat because there's something more urgent. So we have lots of plot lines now.
Yeah, it's been really, really good.
That sounds really cool. Well, I think we're running out of time here, but...
Yeah, sorry, do go on. Yeah, so thank you very much for having us. We're seeing more people join EU Mega Server and come and say hi on the DC side and come and find us, Stormhaven RP.
Please do. I mean, I know there are some people on the American website who, for example, server, who sometimes just wanted to come for some events like the lectures or whatever. You don't have to role play with us. Every day, actively. Just come for an event if you want.
We'll see you around, basically.
Yeah. And I'll have a link to the Stormhaven RP website in the description for the video, too. So people can also go to that and get involved that way, too. So
excellent. Thank you.
Well, we'll see you around.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, guys.
Thank you.
All right, welcome to the show, Duchess of Kent.
Hello.
You're like a big deal in the roleplay community, so I was very excited to do this interview.
I'll try not to be mauled by my dog too much while I'm talking to you.
Yeah, that happens to me.
I have a dog licking the screen.
So you are pretty involved in the Daggerfall Covenant OOC Guild, right?
Fairly involved. I'm not in any administrative capacity, but I try to, whenever I see our peers running around that aren't in the guild, I try to encourage them to join, and I in general, just try to advocate as much as I can on the unofficial RP forums.
Yeah, I've definitely seen you around, as I'm sure everybody who's listening has as well. You're super helpful. So you, in that helpful nature of yours, you seem to roll a lot of characters that are used for plots and sort of necessary side characters and stuff like that. Would you say you have a main character?
Only in the sense that I more or less run a guild now, or I kind of inherited a guild. That's my main, essentially, but it was not my original main. My original main sort of got detached somewhat for various reasons from her original RP partner. So I ended up taking a secondary side support character and using her, for the new guild concept I came up with a friend of mine.
Would you say she's evolved then?
Yeah, she's definitely evolved. Not a ton though, because I still play the character more as a glue character. She's a bridge. She's an excuse to get other people to RP together. She's kind of the guild matron. She kind of gives off that kind of vibe. But I don't really have a whole lot of plots directly tied to her. So I will create drama through perhaps initiating a plot or something, some kind of crisis. Try to encourage other guild members to coordinate together. I don't really have that much specifically going on with her. I've added some things as time has went on. I'll get ideas. Usually it's like me trying to connect different characters I have to each other. So I will sometimes wake up in the middle of the night with some idea about like why Undina, my main in the guild, is connected to this other character I have. I'll get some wild ass idea, but it may never even come to light. It may just be back end motivation for why my character hates, for example, she doesn't like Sheogorath worshippers. She has a reason for this. It may never come to light. No one may ever ask this, but it's still there. It still provides motivation.
Definitely. So tell me a little bit about this guild.
This was something that, again, a friend of mine came up with, mainly named Ariel, but we both been lamenting for a long time that no one on the Daggerfall Covenant side had any sort of guild that, catered towards Daedric worshippers, and we finally decided just to go ahead and make one. We had to make it a lot more loose than originally planned, because there aren't nearly as many people as there were when the game first came out. So we couldn't specialize in a certain Daedric prince or be like, crazy cultist. We had to make it a lot more moderate, a lot more neutral, and accept pretty much anyone who kind of like fit loosely under the general umbrella. Nice.
So you probably have worshippers of all different sorts of Daedra and dark entities then?
Pretty much. It has to be like the main criteria basically tolerance towards other believers and maintaining secrecy. So we had an original goal to be something a little more on the dark. So we're actually less dark than some people may think, but it's a lot of that's out of necessity. You have to it's very difficult to have niche guilds. You can do it sometimes you can get away with it, but quite often you have to be a little more broad in scope, because especially if you start a guild that's in a community that's already developed, people's characters are already very well developed. They aren't going to create new characters just for your guild, So you have to cast the net as wide as possible.
Yeah, definitely. I've noticed that in my own guild. It's kind of hard to get people who are specifically wanting to do tribal roleplay, so we end up taking people who hunt Daedra and people who want to defend the homelands and stuff like that.
Right. And you hope eventually you will get people who like your concept enough that they will create alts to go with that concept. But it takes a little while to get them on the same train.
Absolutely, yeah. So you guys are sort of an antagonist guild then. Do you have conflicts with the other Daggerfall Covenant guilds?
No, because we're running it as a secret society. And it's more politically antagonistic than it is outrightly antagonistic. Although, to be fair, my co-GM was kind of the Magneto to my Professor X, in that she was a lot more violent and had basically a lot of assassins working for her that were less religious in angle. And she was definitely being antagonistic. And the great irony, because the community has become more tight and more incestuous, is that now the wife of someone who was in an antagonist guild is now the great grand niece of one of our core members. So there's this weird balance that's going on where people are trying to keep their involvement on the down low and secret, but there's some preventions of outright hostility because of familial connections.
Interesting. So what have you got going on lately in your roleplay with all of these alts of yours?
I've almost always got various mooks in play that I bring out according to who's online at the time. I've still got my Perryites who are usually trying to cause problems for somebody. I still have promised to infect at least somebody with the Crimson Plague. I haven't done that yet. I apologize.
I'm sorry I haven't infected anybody.
I've got mooks I occasionally use to stalk guild members because we've got connections to some Imperials in the Cyrodiil who are Mannimarco worshippers, so there's people being stalked. I'm trying to get some weird thing going with the bookstore in Shornhelm, having something terrible hidden in one of the walls. Those are the main things I'm kind of tooling around with, but I'm also trying to encourage anybody I know that has ongoing plots of their own to give me ideas or ask for, I want to coordinate as much as possible. There's a handful of people I know who like to create mooks like I do, so it's trying to work together in that sense.
Definitely. I'm curious about this bookstore with something in the walls. Is it just like a facade, the bookstore, or is it really a legitimate business?
It's a property that we bought in game, quote unquote, that was abandoned. We're treating it as abandoned property because it really is an abandoned bookstore in the game. I think there may have been a quest involved with it. I don't know, but in the game, it's an abandoned bookstore. So we're treating it as if something that if the previous owner is vacated and didn't pay their rent because something terrible happened there probably.
Oh.
So I'm kind of going with a lot more Lovecraftian angle.
That's really cool. So are there any other plots that you're helping other people with that you are particularly interested in?
There's some stuff that wound down. I often help the people in the Mages Guild. I guess the Mages Guild usually has something going on. I've tried to work with them a few times. And the other thing that's, I guess, good to do is, especially in regard to the rumors that are posted on the in-character rumor mill thread, when I'm in public RP scenes, talk about those things, make those things, trying to make those things into something viral that other people will then carry on the story, carry on the news about. That's generally one of the big things I'm doing now. There's a lady who's pretending that banks in Daggerfall have been being robbed because some necromancer is pulling people out of is literally have been digging up some people from the nearby cemetery. Either that, or I'm not quite sure if the necromancer's been doing that, or she has been killing some people and then using their reanimated thrall corpses to withdraw money, but something like that's going on. So the more you talk about it in public scenes, the more the story gets kind of recommunicated, And even if it takes on its own life or becomes more twisted or distorted as time goes on, that's even more fun.
Yeah, it's like a game of telephone. Yeah, I love the rumor mill thread. It's one of my favorite things about TESO-RP. I wish Ebonheart would post in it more because there's a lot going on and people don't know about it because people, for some reason, aren't too inclined in Ebonheart to post in the rumor mill thread, but when there is something, I do try to talk about it in character a little bit.
It comes and goes in waves, I've noticed. But I mean, I did it a lot for a while, then I got kind of a slump, and I wasn't doing it. But I mean, if you know someone is doing something, you can write about it as a rumor. Like I did something recently about, again, we had a fake, a conspiratorial, Dark Brotherhood attack in a tavern a few weeks ago. No one wrote about it, but I finally decided to get off my ass and post something about it. And I made it into something more jokey that was a kind of a reflection upon what the rubberneckers who were nearby might have said or seen. So it has factual errors, but that's the nature of rumors.
Yeah, that's one of my other favorite things about the rumor mill thread is you can totally just, make something up and throw in a couple of extra details that aren't true,
Yep.
and it's fine. I imagine it would be really fun to follow one of those leads in character and find out that the things you have heard are not entirely accurate.
Yeah, and I've tried to do that a few times, but sometimes it's a specific guild activity or guild quest. You can't always get in on it, but it still it makes the role feel less static.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Cool. Well, I will definitely be having you on the show in the future to talk about all the cool stuff you do. But for now, alas, we must say farewell.
All right. Well, it was nice talking to you.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on, and good luck with all your red shirts.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show, Sings in Shade, and your baby.
Hey, say hi. He's not very talkative.
That's okay.
He's very rude.
He's just stuck up. So does your baby roleplay?
No, not really.
Oh.
He's just a baby. Baby stuff.
He'll get to it eventually, I'm sure.
Oh, sure.
So, do you roleplay?
I guess I do a little bit, you know? Role-playing is actually a fairly new thing to me. Like, I had a little 2-month binge with the World of Darkness a couple years back.
Oh, nice.
It was kind of an online thing, sort of chat.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, and then, basically Elder Scrolls is like my first real jump into it, more or less.
Nice. Well, you definitely have the creative mind to be a role player. I mean, I'm sure most of the people listening to this know who you are just from seeing your art on the website and your poetry, both of which are really good.
Oh, you shouldn't.
It's true. I'm Sings and Shade's biggest fan. I think I've commissioned you more than anybody else.
Probably, yeah.
You sort of got your start like in an actual like MMO role-playing game in ESO. When you like signed on to TESO-RP, did you realize like the vastness of what you were getting into?
Oh, I had no clue, man. Basically how this whole thing started was I was at my, I guess, parent-in-law's house for like a month, and they have like no internet really. They're like out in the woods.
Yeah.
So I just started drawing a lot, something I hadn't really done in a while. Kind of started drawing my Argonian character, which turned out to be Sings and Shade, and then I actually started writing for the first time. Writing is like a creative process I never really gotten into too much. I've always been with the music and the visual arts, and it all just started coming from there.
Nice. And I mean, you've done like lyrical writing though for your music, haven't you? Or was that
No, absolutely not.
Oh wow, so like you really like just started with it. That's crazy.
Yeah.
You're new to writing and you're new to role playing and I mean, you're really good at it. That's all I can really say.
Well, yeah, I guess like being a creative person myself, I guess I'm sort of a creative jack of all trades, really. Yeah. I feel I'm good at many things, but master at none. So I guess writing was naturally the next step for me.
Would you rather be a master of one and not the jack of all trades, or are you happy with your creative?
I don't know, man. Like, it's hard to say. Like, I figure given enough years, once I'm an old man, I could be a master compared to many. But also being an artist, I'm my own worst critic, so... Yeah,
totally.
I'll never do.
So, what have you experienced in your role-playing in ESO? Like, I guess I know a lot of it since I was there for a good portion of it, but just tell the viewers about it.
It's been a pretty good ride, actually. I've really, really enjoyed myself, and for me, really, I guess role-playing, since I'm still kind of tiptoeing into it, I haven't really made it, like, canon for anything I've written for my character. Like, it hasn't really influenced anything permanent, I would say. But it's definitely a nice creative process, like, especially if people unwittingly or not, they help me with creating Sings and Shade.
Totally. So you're sort of walking into it saying, like, you know, I might not necessarily keep some of the things I'm doing and keep some of the things I'm role-playing, or is it more your backstory that you're not sure about?
I think it's a little bit of everything because, like, as an artist, I kind of want everything to be my masterpiece, and I want to be able to keep things and toss them aside. Like, I consider myself more of artist than a role player, or more trying to work my way into being a writer rather than a role player.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, role-playing is great practice for writing.
Oh, it definitely is, especially with things just coming off the fly and things you might have not thought about after sitting for an hour thinking about what to write next. And role-playing also gives you all these actions and situations you probably wouldn't have came up with yourself, and how your character might deal with said situations.
Yeah, I think that's one of the fun things about role-playing, is just like continually developing your character as you role-play them. Like, your character's like never going to be a permanent, static thing, you know. I feel like it always changes.
Oh, ever-changing for sure. And it's also nice, too, having other people interact with your character, because, yes, you can write all these great stories and stuff that you enjoy, but there's also that added thrill of actually other people interacting and maybe caring or not liking your character.
Totally, yeah, and seeing how your character reacts to different people, too, you know, like, oh, whoa, my character probably wouldn't like this guy because of this personality clash or whatever.
Yeah.
So, would you say, when you get a chance to get back in game, since I know your computer exploded.
Oh, yeah.
Piece of shit. Would you say you have, like, a particular direction you feel like you want to take Sings and Shade in? I guess tell us just a little bit about him and a little bit about his potential future.
Okay, well, Sings and Shade, as many may know, or many may not know, is an Argonian bard, or so he fashions himself. His backstory is as Argonian shadow scale. He was brought up with the shadow scales and brought into the life of the Dark Brotherhood, where his skills were exceedingly well-versed in the areas of kind of subterfuge, kind of getting to know his enemy. He really enjoyed the thrill of the hunt, and he'd befriend them if he could, or seduce them before giving them the knife. And then one day, after just like getting another contract and get much information, just go kill this Redguard minstrel woman in, I don't even remember where. I'm horrible at my own story. Anyway, he ended up falling in love, to make a long story short, and he left the Brotherhood, and they eventually came and finished his contract for him, which was very sad for him.
Ouch.
So he had to reinvent himself. Right? He didn't like the life of the Dark Brotherhood, and he decided to live more like the woman he fell in love with, so he fashioned himself as a traveling Argonian bard, as sort of a cover. And it sort of ended up being more of a cover. It became who he actually was now, because it was a life of his own choosing, something he never really had before.
So, would you say he's a little unsure about what direction he's going in?
I'd say so. He's a wandering bard. He doesn't really have a plan for anything, really. He just goes with the flow wherever the meat is, wherever the women are at, things like that. But during roleplay, kind of some interesting developments are kind of coming to light that may lead somewhere. Recently, he revealed his secret to one of his Banescale tribe members, that he was ex-Shadow Scale and hunted by the Dark Brotherhood. And this other character, Kadava, she's actually seeking to join the Dark Brotherhood, but she promised. We'll see if that promise holds true, but I think it will, hopefully. And he'll have an in with the Dark Brotherhood, so he can avoid them if he needs to, kind of hiding in plain sight, so to speak.
Yeah, definitely. Stormhold is quite the city to be in if you're trying to avoid the Dark Brotherhood.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I hope that you get your computer situation figured out soon, because we would love to have you back in the game.
Yeah.
And in the meantime...
If anyone wants to send a computer my way...
Yes, if anyone's feeling generous, send Sings and Shade your computer.
Yeah.
Or if you can't do that, he has an art thread, which I'll have linked in the description below, and you can check out some of his amazing art and maybe commission him if you want your character drawn.
Yes, that would be most good.
Awesome. Well, I will see you around. Thanks for coming on the show.
All right, thanks, brother.
Click here to listen to the extended interview. Welcome to the show, Stone.
Thank you very much.
So, orcs. So you are in Mor'Grummar, is that how you say it?
I believe so. I did not come up with the naming, so...
Oh, okay. And then your character is Orox, correct?
Right. To go into the voice, Orox gro'Othilogar.
Nice. So what can you tell me about Orox?
Well, I suppose going back to the beginning, Skyrim. I had never played an Elder Scrolls game before Skyrim, and I do Society for Creative Anachronism. I basically dress as a Viking and hit people with axes for fun on Sundays. And I'm a big Nordic guy, and I went out to play Skyrim because all my sword fighting buddies were going, "Oh, Stone, you have to play this, it's amazing." And I went to play it, and I'm going through the races going, okay, Altmers look like pricks, Dunmers look like pricks, Imperials look like pricks, Nords, oh, that's an ugly one. Wait, what's this green? Oh, Orcs, yeah, Orcs. I played a half-orc once. And in playing that, I started really getting into just how all the orcs sounded and how they acted. And the more I played Skyrim, the more I wanted to play more, and the more I wanted to really get into the character. When it came time, the ESO was coming down, I wasn't sure how to make the orc, because orcs are... If you just make a brute that just does nothing but bash things in, you're going to have a very boring character. So I wanted to find some way to make the character interesting to me, but still make them very, very much an orc. And I decided to make him basically curious. More than anything else, his primary character trait should be his curiosity. So he reads all the time, which is kind of unusual for an orc. But to balance that out, because I didn't want it to be one of those, there's an orc in Wayrest. He has a Breton name, he wears Breton clothing, and he's a bard. It's an orc that wants to be a Breton.
What a loser.
I wanted to play an orc, but I want to play somewhat of a deviation from it while staying true to the heart of it. I had no intention of making Orox a chief. Orox had no intention of being a chief. So to make sure that he was still, an orc's orc, despite his love of books, I made sure to make him a blacksmith because I really want to do the crafting. So he's a blacksmith, and he's also moderately he's on the upper end of orc size. Orox's arms are about the size of a Bosmer girl's waist. He is by no means a small person. So I wanted to make sure that he had some of that, and the rest of the character kind of grew from the idea of what would a bookworm orc be like? And that was one of the things. I did a lot of research before I ended up making the character and figuring it out, and some things I noticed is that orcs are probably the most interesting race in Tamriel. For if nothing else, they're utterly inhuman. See, 2,000 years is a long time. It is very rare that you will find a human who holds that strong of a grudge over somebody who did something to his ancestors 2,000 years ago. It's fairly rare. I mean, you have some cultures that have grudges that go back a couple hundred years. And the English and French will always hate each other, but not to the same amount that the orcs hate the Bretons.
So, what has been going on in your current roleplay?
But mostly it's been, he's got political maneuverings, or as he calls it, professional headbutting, with getting oaths for Bretons that they would have to speak on behalf of his people if the Breton kings ever went to try to kill Orsinium again.
Oh, he's thinking ahead.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. When you stare that long into the past, you start to see what will happen in the future.
Absolutely.
And he remembered that he's a smith, so he has to calculate every blow of the hammer. And so orcs, despite being, smash, would have to be very deliberate if they're going to be such excellent smiths. Because it does take a great deal of patience to work iron.
Absolutely.
And I'll get back to the whole iron thing in a moment, but he became chief because due to really out of character things made me put me into the chieftain position because I had no intention of it, nor did I really want it, but the roleplay kind of built that way. And what ended up happening was, out of character, Thrusk, a wonderful, wonderful guy, found that life was too busy for him to really focus to leading the game as much. And he felt bad that he couldn't show up as much or set up as many events or help run the plot line and everything. And he decided that he was going to step down, and then there was a talk among the officers. Orox was Forge Master at the time. Think of it like a lore keeper with a great big sledgehammer. And Orox was Forge Master, and I was the only male officer that was going to be staying around. So in terms of keeping somewhat of the orc hierarchy, we were either going to have a chieftainess or we were going to have a chieftain. So it ended up being Orox would be chief. And in character-wise, what happened was Thrusk had kind of gone off into Cyrodiil and vanished, and nobody knew what, and Orox decided that the company had been without a leader for too long, declared his chieftainship, and a nameless grunt challenged him for the position, played by one of our other officers, Aether, Urlog, fantastic role player. And we had a little bit of a fight, and Orox's wife, Lashgar, had asked Orox to keep his head, just cut off his head so they could put him on a spike. And the heat of the moment, Orox chopped it down, not sideways, and you can't really put a mess of half-brain, half-eye mess on spikes. So his first act of chieftain was not to listen to his wife, so he's kind of mad about that. Regarding some other things, I mentioned the iron, and this is one of the things I think is tantamount when someone plays an orc, is the orcish experience is all about iron. See, they have, as orcs would put it, all races have some metal in their spines. The Altmer have gold. They favor gold. The races of men have silver. Everything with them is money and snow. But silver is brittle and gold is soft. The orc run on iron. And they are kind of unyielding. I mean, I mentioned before that 2,000 years. Orcs are incapable of forgiving. No one holds a grudge like an orc. That's one of the things that's said again and again in all the lore. Nobody holds grudges like an orc. So Orox is still mad over things that happened thousands of years ago. He still hates the Altmer for what happened with Trinomac and the abandoning of his people. And whenever I try to explain to our new Mor'Grummar recruits things with orcish roleplay is that everything is simple. Either they're your friend or your enemy. Either it's food or it's not. It's it's a very simple, brutal way of life. And the most important thing about orcs is that you have to remember that Malakath is their god, and Malakath is a god of curses and oaths. So an orc oath must be unbroken. But we also know that Malakath favors deeds, so words are hollow and meaningless unless backed with deeds, so an oath has to have deeds attached to it. Otherwise it's just empty words.
Man, I think the orcs have a lot of things figured out that us humans don't.
I think that might be some of the whole survival of the fittest childhood thing, that only the fit have children.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. It's like eugenics.
A little bit. Like I said, I've got a lot of love for the orcs, but they do have their flaws. They don't learn well, would probably be the best way to put it. That's where Orox probably is most deviant, is that he does learn, but he doesn't learn the same things. Like, they don't learn magic well because iron is inflexible.
Oh.
That's what he was getting to with the iron in your spirit. Because magic in Elder Scrolls is all about channeling your spirit and basically making yourself like a prism, but orc spirits are inflexible. It's one of the reasons that they can't make slaves. They don't make good slaves. Their wills cannot be broken, and they can't break their own wills or bend them enough to use magic really effectively. It also means I doubt they're very good listeners. I really don't see them as being very good listeners.
Yeah, I could imagine, unless I suppose somebody has really proven themselves to them.
Yeah, or I think a lot of times I think an orcish school matron would have a mace, and she would just bop them upside the head with a...
Do you wish that you had a mace in your class sometimes?
No, because I'm 6'2" and I weigh 250 pounds, and I'm a big I'm a great big guy, and the kids know I hit people with axes for fun anyway. So.
Well, thank you so much for coming on and offering your insights, and Orox sounds like a really cool character, and maybe I will run into him on my Daggerfall character one of these days.
Well, I have to say, if it's a Briton, he's probably going to make choice remarks about their parentage.
Well, he's an Argonian, so we might be okay.
Oh yeah, he'll be fine. He'll probably say that he's far from home and needs better armor because scales don't cut it here.
Nice.
All right, but hope you have a good day. Looking forward to seeing the show.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on.
No problem. Have a good one.
You too. Awesome interviews as always. I really have been enjoying these community features, and I'm looking forward to doing another set of them sometime in the future. But for now, we have a featured character from the Aldmeri Dominion. The Nahatan Flu. A devastating plague which rips through elsewhere like a poisonous wind. In 2E579, a city guard named Kuri-do fled to the nearest port. He left behind his family and his duty as a guard of the city of Alabaster. But the suffering around him, the threat of losing his family, and being forced to fight his own people to keep the quarantine was too much for him. As so many wayward travelers do, Kuri-do found himself on the island of Khenarthi's Roost. There he mingled with people of all sorts from all across Tamriel, learning to appreciate the diversity of the many races. He worked as a guard, enforcing the peace between the Khajiit, Malmor, and other overseas traders. Recently, Kuri-do gave up his position and traveled to Auradon. Some hope remains that he will stumble across his family. This Khajiit believes in the strength of the Aldmeri Dominion, and has found friends among it. He joined the Thalmor Inquest, hoping to make a difference. Perhaps somehow make up for his failure in Elsewhere. Kuri-do is loyal and protective of his friends, full of laughter and very fond of drinking. His deep voice and hearty presence are hard to miss. Maybe one day he will find his family. Until then, he will protect those he has come to call friend. Let's dig into the character exercise. First off, I want to say thank you, Igmund, for your compliments on the show, and I'm glad that Scrollplay and coffee are a good mix, and thank you so much for becoming a patron. So, let's move on to the character exercise. Last time, the crazy old man claiming to be an escapee from a Mehrunes Dagon cult led Igmund's character, a red-headed Bosmer, down a hole underneath a giant tree in Valenwood. Igmund wrote an excellent and very detailed response on the TESO-RP thread for Scrollplay, so you should go check it out. The equipment list was especially cool. And the red-headed Mer is incredibly cautious, bringing along a plethora of supplies, maybe some surprises, and watching this withered old man closely for any signs of betrayal. He tosses a source of light, an enchanted wooden pyramid, into the hole. The light reveals a tunnel, which the old man quickly scampers into, turning around and holding a finger to his mouth. He then creeps around a turn just a few feet ahead. If the red-headed Mer looks around the corner, he will see another tunnel, but this one has holes in one wall, revealing the next room over. Red light emits from the windows as 4 robed cultists chant at an altar to Mehrunes Dagon. The old man whispers this: "There's only one way to stop them. Kill me! They used my essence to create the summoning circle. If my soul departs, the ritual will fail." One of the cultists turns and sees the old man in the window. He shouts to the others, and they begin chanting more quickly. What do you do? Roshana, in this alternate universe, again tells the old man to go inform the guards. He has insisted that she is from a vision he's seen, and only she can stop the ritual. After you go about your business, Roshana, throughout the city, it's getting late, and you see the old man again in the town square, grabbing onto somebody else and insisting that they are the person from his vision. what do you do? Thank you, Igmund and Roshana, for participating in this weird little experiment. The regular character exercise will continue soon. That's all, folks. See you at Alton Cormont. Peace.